I'm Julie Wexler. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Bristal Assisted Living, and we are always so delighted to partner with Nancy Berner's office and the amazing team that she has there to bring all this important community education to families and older adults all over Long Island and the tri-state area. So it's really, really a privilege and an honor to be here today. I just want to remind everyone that all of our communities are open for business. Our residents are living a great life at all of our Bristol communities, including the Bristol in Mount Sinai. I am certainly available to talk to you about what it looks like to live in assisted living during a pandemic. But for the most part, our residents are active, they're eating well in our beautiful dining rooms. We have regular, very rigid testing requirements, and residents are busy and active and continuing, like I said, to live a great life. So we're going to introduce you today to Janie Wisniewski, as she was introduced as our community relations coordinator at our newest Bristol, which is the Bristol in Mount Sinai. It actually reopened just a few months ago, and we've been welcoming residents to this beautiful community since. And so Janie actually has put together a little bit of a video so that you can get to meet some of the amazing staff that we've brought aboard to help our residents at the Bristol in Mount Sinai live a great life. So there are some quiet spots. So if you're just listening in and you're not just watching the video, know that we're still here, but you are actually going to hear from some of our staff members. So I'm going to turn it over to Janie so she can play that great video.
Yes, very well said. Thanks so much, Julie. So my name is Janie Wisniewski. I am from the Bristol at Mount Sinai. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. So thank you so much for joining in. And we're super excited here at the Bristol just to be finally open. We opened back in July, and we are getting more and more residents as the months go on. And we're just so excited to be able to meet and give back to those residents and have a place for them to all get to know one another. So just hang tight while I share my screen and present our video that we put together. Okay, all right, here we go.
Doesn't sound like the sound is working that great, but that was actually our director of dining services. So we have a beautiful dining room where residents are enjoying 3 meals a day, and a menu to choose from. And this is actually, I know the sound's not working so as well as we would have liked.
I apologize.
Yeah, so this is Jennifer Macaluso. She is our Director of Recreation. So, you know, living in a community, we want to make sure that our residents stay as busy as possible. And so when you move in, you actually get to meet with Jennifer and you let her know the kinds of things that you enjoy doing. Do you like playing bridge? Are you into exercise? Do you love art? Those are the kinds of things that Janie uses to put together that calendar, which is full of all kinds of activities and things that people can do. Our beautiful movie theater, so we have that available to our residents on a daily basis as well, where we show documentaries, other movies. This is our wellness director. So in addition to fine dining and recreation, we also have our wellness team that's overseen by a registered nurse. If you need assistance with showering, with dressing, with taking medications, that's there for you too. So the whole idea is that you could be as independent as you can be, and we provide you any support that you might need along the way to help you live safely and healthy. Our beautiful outdoor spaces, that's one of our apartments, and our little kitchenette with a little refrigerator. And you're welcome to bring your own furniture and to really make your apartment your own. And she's so cute. That's one of our residents, and she's saying, "Come join us." That's what she was saying at the very end. So
Yes,
thank
we
you,
love
Janie.
her.
Sorry about the sound, but
Yeah,
we
I
hope
apologize for that,
that
everybody.
that's okay. All these little technical glitches. So we appreciate it. So we are going to turn it over to Brittni Sullivan. One of the things we wanted to address during this webinar series was the veterans benefit, because if you are eligible for that aid and attendance program, it can be applied. It does cover the cost of assisted living. So it's a really important benefit. And we're just so delighted that Brittni has put together this presentation so we can learn a little bit more about it. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or to Janie, and we hope you have a great day. And we're going to turn it over to Brittni.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittni Sullivan. I'm one of the attorneys at Berner Law Group. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for that video. It absolutely looks great there. I'm so happy that you guys are open. I pass it frequently, so that's so exciting. So I know the topic for today is advanced directives and veterans benefits. We're mostly going to be focusing on veterans benefits. But I just wanted to touch briefly on some advanced directives and some planning that people can have, that is important regardless of what kind of benefits you're potentially going for. So with respect to healthcare, you've got three main advanced directives. You've got a healthcare proxy, a living will, and a HIPAA release. Typically, anybody over the age of 18 can have these documents in place. So you don't need to wait for a catastrophic event or to hit a certain age, other than the age of 18, obviously that's when you're able to sign legal documents. So a healthcare proxy simply states, in the event that you are unable to make your own healthcare decisions, who you want to make those decisions for you. So for example, you can name your spouse, you can name a child. The important thing to know about a healthcare proxy is you cannot name more than one person at the same time. So let's say you have three people that you would want to name, you would have to pick them in succession. So you would have to have a primary, then a secondary, and then a third agent listed. You couldn't name all three at once in New York State. But once you have that document in place, if your first agent is unavailable or unwilling to make a decision, they can always go to the next person on the list. The next document is a living will. What the living will says is if you have an incurable illness with no hope of recovery, you do not want artificial treatment or machines keeping you alive. But more importantly, what it says is that if you haven't had the opportunity to make those types of end of life decisions, like for example, most people wouldn't have a DNR or a DNI, a do not resuscitate, a do not intubate document if they're well and doing okay. It's not really appropriate to have that. But then if something happened, some sort of catastrophic event happened, and you want your healthcare agent to be able to make those types of end of life decisions on your behalf, that's where the living will comes into play. It's giving permission to your healthcare agent, the person that you've named in your healthcare proxy, to be able to make those types of decisions on your behalf. And then finally, you have a HIPAA release, and you can list individuals on the HIPAA release. You can list as many as you want. And what the HIPAA release says is just simply who can get copies of your medical records. So those people would be able to use that release, submit it to hospitals, submit it to doctors' offices, anywhere they need to get medical records. It has no decision-making bearing, but it just gives people access to those types of records. So those are the three healthcare advanced directives. And then you've got the financial end of it, which is the power of attorney. A durable power of attorney will allow your agent to access any real estate, financial institution accounts, really anything on your behalf. What the power of attorney does is it allows whomever you've named really be able to step into your shoes and act on your behalf. It does not take away your ability to act. It just gives that person the power to act as well. Unlike the healthcare proxy, you can name multiple people. So you can name, two primary agents. You can require that they act together. You can allow them to act separately. You can name contingent agents. So the document can really be structured in a way that suits your needs. But the importance of the power of attorney is if you do become incapacitated, you want to make sure someone is going to have access to your account. Someone's going to have access to sign your name, speak on your behalf, because outside of having that in place, really, unless there's a joint owner on every account, which, obviously, as you're aware, retirement accounts only have a single owner. You may have a bank account that is only a single owner. So absent having a power of attorney, no one's going to be able to access those accounts and make sure that everything stays current and things like that. A lot of times what will happen is, without a sufficient power of attorney, your loved one who's trying to help and unable to help may be forced to commence a guardianship proceeding. So the documents that I named, the healthcare and the power of attorney, as long as you have comprehensive documents in place with agents that you trust and are going to advocate for you and do right by you, you're going to be okay no matter what benefit you're applying for, what stage of life you're at, or who needs to help you. So as far as veterans benefits go, I just want to talk about, about 2 years ago, October 1st, 2018, they instituted a 3-year look back. So what that meant was, prior to October 1st, 2018, you were able to transfer assets out of your name and immediately qualify for the aid and attendance program. The aid and attendance program is a monthly benefit that can be paid to veterans and or their surviving spouses to help with the cost of medical care. But it's needs-based, so there were certain asset limits. When they passed the 3-year look back, they actually gave us an asset limit. Prior to that time, it was always this weird, anywhere maybe between $50,000 and $90,000 you might be approved. It was a very strange, no real bright line rule. But for once they passed the 3-year look back, they actually gave us a asset limit, and I'll talk about how that's calculated. But for 2020, it's $128,640. The way that that's calculated is they look at all of your assets. So any money that you have in the bank, checking, savings, IRA, brokerage, cash value, life insurance, real estate, kind of any of it. They add all of that up. And then to that, they actually add your annual income. So for example, if you've got somebody who's got $110,000 in the bank, right? And an annual income of $40,000, that $40,000 is going to get added to the 110, bringing that person up to 150,000. Now, right off the bat, you would say, well, they don't qualify. They're over that $128,000 number. But you can use your medical expenses and cost of assisted living counts to offset that number. So for example, if you've got somebody that reaches that 150 with the money that they have in the bank plus their annual income, but they've got annual medical expenses of $60,000 a year, now they're down to 90,000 and they would qualify for aid and attendance. What we're telling people is like in Medicaid, and I see that there's some questions about Medicaid, so we can touch on that a little bit too. But like Medicaid, is pre-planning is key. So if you have assets, if you have real property, if you have a brokerage account or anything like that, you would want to transfer those assets, typically into an irrevocable qualifying trust and get that look back ticking, so there's look backs in Medicaid, and now there's a 3-year look back with the VA. So if you were to transfer those assets and then wait the 3 years and then need to apply for aid and attendance, at that point, the assets that are in the trust would be disregarded. So, where it used to be, you just had to click the certain boxes of, wartime related. There's some medical evidence that you need to show. You need to have assistance with a certain amount of activities of daily living. now you need to hit this new $128,000 income asset requirement. And they're going to look back 3 years to see, have you transferred assets out of your name in order to accomplish those, reaching those goals. The other thing I want to say is it's not truly just yet a 3-year look back, because they did grandfather anybody in who made transfers prior to October 1st, 2018. So for example, if you have somebody who maybe did this type of estate planning in June of 2018, and now they want to apply for aid and attendance, correct, they haven't gotten through the 3 years, but because they did it before that October 1st, 2018 deadline, they would then still qualify. So it is a 3-year look back. Right now, we're 2 years into it. So it's really not going to be a completed 3-year look back until next October. And then obviously every month that passes, another month, it will go accordingly back 3 months. So right now it's kind of just a 2-year look back. But what I'm finding obviously is most people are not doing the pre-planning, so they're falling into the look back issue. Hold on one second. So I know there's some questions that I'm going to answer. So the first one that we just got is I'm a 30% service connected vet. Do the look backs pertain to me? And yes, they would still pertain to you. Where your service connected disability really comes into play is if you're in a nursing home, you would be able to stay free of charge if you have a 70% or more service-connected disability. But the service-connected disability does not come into play with aid and attendance at all. You could be 100% service-connected, and it doesn't come into play with aid and attendance. There are other benefits that go along with it, but not the aid and attendance. The aid and attendance is really rooted in, obviously, you have to, hit certain qualifications, honorable discharge, certain wartime time periods, but it's really where people are not qualifying is due to the new requirements and the 3-year look back, the asset and income requirements. So I'm going to get to Medicare and Medicaid, because I know there's some questions about that. So I'm just looking at the any more veterans. So there was one question about having a retirement account, it being a Roth. So Roth is treated, so the way the VA treats traditional IRA, Roth IRA, they're an asset. So that asset would obviously put you over the $128,000 limit. And because it is a considerable asset, you would need a lot of medical expenses to exclude that. To answer the second part of that question of are they Medicaid excluded? Yes, Medicaid treats Roth and traditional IRAs the same way. They make you take your RMD and they can attach the RMD, but the principal of the IRA is protected. But for veterans, for the VA, for aid and attendance, that it's never a protected asset. It would be added into the pot. And make you ineligible because it obviously exceeds the $128,000 limit. So does anybody have any more questions about the aid and attendance, the 3-year look back or anything like that? I can touch upon some of the other questions that came across with respect to Medicaid and Medicare hospitalization. So just looking at the questions, one says, given the increase in Medicare hospitalization rate for day 61 through 90 at $352 a day, is it better to use a veterans hospital or be Medicaid ready? So, I mean, at that point, I would definitely suggest looking into a supplement plan. because that might, I don't know, you can obviously see what it would take to be Medicaid ready, and you could use Medicaid as your supplement. You could be a Medicare, Medicaid recipient, but depending on your monthly income and depending upon the assets that are in your name, it may be hard to continuously qualify for Medicaid. Medicaid right now for home care, for community-based Medicaid, which obviously covers you outside of a nursing home, you cannot have more than $15,750 in your name, and you cannot have more than $895 in income. There's obviously ways to protect that, but for some people, they don't, maybe want to jump through all of those hoops. So, if you've got your Medicare, I would potentially see, what kind of also supplement you might be able to afford, because that might be a better use of getting those that covered, rather than being Medicaid ready. But obviously it might be something worthwhile to look into. And then, yeah, of course, using a veteran hospital is always an option.